the solution. Every study published in the last 5 years, when you look at vaccine refusers, I'm not talking about, well, hesitants, most of them we can talk into coming to terms, but refusers. We'll just get rid of all the whites in the United States because Houston is the most diverse city in the entire United States. There are 7 Asian languages spoken.
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country.
A better world also means a healthier world. And vaccination is our best chance to do this. Vaccines have saved millions of lives in the past 50 years. But right now, millions of children are still at risk. They need vaccines. So we must continue to support vaccination around the world. And today, I am pleased to pledge $290 million for Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance. Each child should be protected. And more will come. Together with Gavi, we have the goal to vaccinate 500 million children by 2030. Europe will do its fair share. You can count on us, my friends.
I don't think I can keep doing testing on these vaccine-injured kids, man. These parents bring these kids in that are rough and wanting blood work, you know, and you gotta pin these kids down, and like I just can't do it. We've started doing the illegal scan, right? So they can do a tissue scan. It's non-invasive. That's nice. You still get all your metals and minerals and stuff, but like aluminum every time, heavy metals every time. My heart broke today. I love my kids very much, and I'm very grateful for that. And I'm grateful to be able to help some people that are just in a spot, but it was a tough day. Hug your kids.
And globally, did we solve that? Like, did we actually manage to vaccinate everyone in the world? No. So highlighting water as a global commons and what it means to work together and see it both out of that kind of global commons perspective, but also the self-interest perspective, because it does have that parallel. It's not only important, but it's also important because we haven't managed to solve those problems which had similar attributes. And water is something that people understand. You know, climate change is a bit abstract. Some people understand it really well. Some understand it a bit. Some just don't understand it. Water, every kid knows how important it is to have water. When you're playing football and you're thirsty, you need water. So there's also something about really getting citizen engagement around this and really, in some ways, experimenting with this notion of the common good. Can we actually deliver this time in ways that we have failed miserably?
You now make a point of that's an investment criteria for you.
Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors. 54% of the incoming class are women. We added 4 more points in terms of diverse employment this year, and what we're doing internally is if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted. Okay,
we're doing the same.
And so it's just you have to force behaviors. And if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted. And that's just not recruiting, it is development, as Ken said. And ultimately, it's still going to take time, but I am just as much shocked as Ken is that we have not seen more opportunities. We're going to have to force change.
I'm Miley Kozinski, and I live 1.6 miles downstream from the Metadata Center in Beaver Dam. If you need to stand and stretch for a moment, please do. I have never in my life needed a group of people to be more alert to what I have to say. Thank you for staying so long. I'm a lifelong Wisconsin resident. I live on a horse farm, and I am an educator. I For almost 50 years, a natural creek has flowed through my property. It's 20 feet wide, up to 4 feet deep. It has persisted through drought, flood, seasonal change. It's part of a connected system. Groundwater, tributaries, watersheds, aquifers, ultimately flowing into Beaver Dam Lake. Until construction began upstream on the data center, its behavior was stable and predictable. After construction started, all of that changed here in Beaver Dam. The creek began to stop flowing entirely. Without rainfall, it would abruptly return, often cloudy and opaque like milk, with enough force to cause drastic erosion and damage. This pattern repeated itself dozens of times over a single construction season, to the point that it is dry half of the time. Dust from the construction covers my yard. My grass is white, and I'm 1.6 miles away. When I drive past it, I have to pull over because the dust cloud is so thick that I can't see the front of the hood of my truck. That behavior is not consistent with natural variability. It is not explained by weather patterns, and it has never happened before. So I did what residents are told to do. I called up the Department of Natural Resources. I spoke with dedicated staff, but the system is fragmented. My reports are passed between departments, reports are lost, and at one point I was told the agency didn't even know if they had clear authority over what was going on. What I learned in this process is there is no single entity responsible for what happens downstream when large-scale construction disrupts a water system. Different permits govern different activities, locally, county level, state level, some even federal. No one is tasked at looking at the whole picture or what happens beyond the project boundary. This is not a failure of individual agency staff, it's a policy failure. The law is on the side of the businesses and not on the residents. In my case, the creek's flow now appears correlated with industrial activity upstream and the times when that construction took place, including daily blasting with dynamite. When that discharge stops, my creek stops. When it resumes, water returns suddenly. Right now, corporates are receiving fast approval tax incentives, limited review, while residents are left to prove the damage after the fact at our own expense against billion-dollar companies. This research has become my part-time job. 10 to 20 hours a week I have spent since knowing it was a data center, trying to figure out what's happening to my land. Simply sending in a water sample from my property costs $121 just to ship the sample. The cost of the test alone is going to be another $400 every time I have it tested. Water testing on my property shows elevated strontium, a very dangerous metal, and other indicators consistent with deep groundwater influence, a change that coincides with large-scale excavation, blasting upstream, and warrants independent investigation. Filters on my water system to stop this elevated metal persistence in my water is going to be over $1,000. When construction is complete, nearly 1,000 acres of my backyard will be converted from living permeable land into a paved industrial space. Land that once actively recharged groundwater, aquifers, and watersheds. That change reshapes an entire community. Farmers and local families cannot compete with billion-dollar corporations to pay for that land. And over time, the places that defined Wisconsin, rural communities, working landscapes, they're being replaced. And then the next project arrives to fill in that spot because nobody is building a home next to a data center. People are leaving. Now there's another open spot, like a second data center now being proposed in Beaver Dam. The city annexed this land from my township. I was there at the meeting when they were talking to the farmers. Alliant Energy sent a representative in to broker the deal with all the farmers in the area. If we can find a buyer for the whole shebang, will you all sell at the same time? They had 10 years to find a buyer. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they knew exactly who was going to buy that land. But we did not. Once it got annexed by the city, it goes to the county for rezoning. That is a rubber stamp in the process. There is nothing we can legally do to stop it at that point because you have to prove it is damaging to people's health, and we cannot legally prove damage before it's built. So it goes through. So you have to stop it at the city level if you want to speak up. But the city level proposed a conversation at their meeting about a TID, not about a data center. By the time we knew it was a data center, it was too late to do anything. And the residents of the township have to live now with the negative impacts of a data center that is on city property, and I'm not represented by the city. I don't have a representative to speak for me. I bought the property to have horses across from my childhood home. My parents live across the street with their horses. I wanted to be here forever. I can't even leave. I am trapped here because nobody wants to buy my land. They don't want to be near a data center. And they don't want a 20-foot empty ditch in the front yard. I am concerned at the idea that there does not seem to be a working system in place to make sure that permits are being followed. We can issue them left and right. There's not enough staff. There is one mining permit officer in the DNR for the entire state of Wisconsin. There's a miner on that flag. We have one guy for the whole state to make sure people are doing what they're supposed to be doing in that particular area. There's not enough. And yes, I nodded when the data center guy was up here because I agree that 840 does not do enough. And he put his foot in his own mouth. He said, we want to work with communities. Then do it. Why do you need a bill to do it? Do it. Be transparent. And one thing I have not heard anyone today share or talk about is, are these bills retroactive? Who is coming to save me? My safety net is gone. My township cannot say no to being annexed by the city. My city doesn't represent me. And here I sit before you. I'm counting on you. I need you. It's too late for me. I didn't get to vote no. I didn't get to speak up. I have 2 minutes at a public hearing at the city, and I am so grateful that you let us sit here so late tonight. Nobody has let me tell my whole story. Please, metaphorically, we are launching planes that are still being built, and we are forced to pilot them, and we don't know how to fly. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for being here.
Can you give me an example of a food that's a vaccine?
You recognize?
Yes, sir. University of California, Riverside has already perfected the ability to put human vaccines into our lettuce right now. Also, tomatoes has the ability to do that also for UC Berkeley. And then Big Tobacco, RJ Reynolds and stuff has perfected the ability to put a human vaccine into tobacco products.
Chairman Clements?
And is that even legal to do in the state of Tennessee, to sell those with a vaccine in them?
You recognize?
Well, I'm not arguing that point. What I'm saying is there is no law deeming those that when you go into a grocery store, you should know as a consumer, this head of lettuce is a head of lettuce. The head of lettuce right next to it could contain a vaccine in it. All we're saying is if it does have the vaccine in it, make sure it's listed as a pharmaceutical so people can get the proper dosage.
You recognize?
Thank you. Well, my question is right now, can you walk into a grocery store and there be a head of lettuce for sale that has a vaccine in it? I don't think that's allowed under state law presently. And if it is, and you have to list it as a pharmaceutical, are we going to then have Walgreens pharmacists with a refrigerated section? I mean, how's this going to play out?
You recognize?
Thank you. This is more of a consumer protection bill right here, is to make sure that if you're going in to buy tomatoes and there's a polio vaccine in there, that you are aware of what you're buying has a polio vaccine. The problem you have is if it's not treated as a pharmaceutical, being the size and difference between you and me, how many tomatoes do I have to eat to get the proper dosage versus how many tomatoes that you have to eat? And if you eat too many, do you get a overdose?
Vaccine that was put out for the public that skipped the animal test?
Never before, especially for children.
And as what I've read, they actually started the animal test, and because the animals were dying, they stopped the test.
Correct.
Folks, I think that's important to understand there, that what we're talking about is the American people are now the guinea pigs. This is the test program that's going on. They didn't do the human testing, and they stopped the animal test because the animals were dying. And then they turned it out for the public. And we are now looking at businesses that want to mandate that this experimental vaccine be given to people as a condition of their employment. And yet we have this death count that continues to rise and be totally ignored.
Intelligence dangerously compromised, warned CIA and FBI whistleblowers. You're not the only one to report this, of course, but I was reading your report on it this morning. This is something that you have been warning about for quite some time, and the allegations stem from a whistleblower who has come forward to the House, a whistleblower from the Central Intelligence Agency. I have the letter, the relevant letter here from the House Oversight Committee. The whistleblower alleges that a CIA team was paid to change its assessment of the origins of COVID-19. Do I have that broadly correct? Is that your understanding of the report? Yes. This is obviously a bombshell report, deeply, deeply troubling. I'm glad that the House is going to look into it. We should look into it. What caught my attention is you point out in your article on this that the government has deliberately violated the COVID Origins Act, which this body passed unanimously, which the House passed, the President signed into law. Maybe he wasn't so happy about signing it into law, but he did. It is the law of the land, and which required that all of the government's intelligence on the origins of COVID be made public. Instead, what the administration did was offer up a summary, which they then in turn heavily redacted. And you point out that in addition, the administration refused to report the names of scientists who fell ill at the Wuhan Institute of Virology in 2019, despite the fact they know the names. The intelligence community knows the names. Now, you're absolutely right to say this is a violation of the COVID Origins Act, and I would know because I wrote it. So I'm not very happy about the fact that this administration continues to flout, completely ignore public law passed, again, unanimously by the United States Senate. For what end, I can't tell. I can't figure out why in the world. I don't know what partisan gain there is to it. Why in the world they want to lie to the American people. You conclude your article by saying the government has become extremely comfortable with lying to us. Just explain what you mean by that, and tell us why you think this is so significant.
Well, sure, and just on the very specific point of we were the first to identify the 3 people that contracted the coronavirus in China. They were the people working on gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The Wall Street Journal confirmed our reporting 2 weeks later, and then I think it was 1 week after that or a few days after that, the ODNI report came out, and it did not reveal this information. And we had multiple sources. The Wall Street Journal, we have no idea if the Wall Street Journal sources were the same, but I think we're clearly seeing a lot of abuses of power occurring in multiple executive agencies. So we've seen it with the FBI. One of the things that we noted yesterday was that we saw perverse incentives in the FBI to go after so-called domestic violent extremism, pulling an agent off of things like child exploitation onto really hyping a set of cases that particularly appeared to be aimed at spreading disinformation around the idea that there is a significant increase of domestic extremism when we don't think that the evidence shows that. And now we see this report that came out that suggests that there's an FBI whistleblower who says that 6 of the 7 analysts had said it was a laboratory origin and that they had reversed their position in some exchange for some sort of a salary bonus or some sort of a financial incentive. So, and we've been, so we keep documenting it. We just keep finding agencies and agencies. DHS involved in trying to create a disinformation governance board. I keep, the censorship industrial complex, we just keep finding new parts of it. So in the research for this testimony, we discovered this deep trust alliance that had, what appears to be ties to the security and intelligence agencies of the United States government, appears to be trying to set itself up, although it's now kind of ghosted after 2021, but it appeared to try to set itself up to decide what is reality and what are fakes for people. And I think it should have a chilling effect in that that's not how we do free speech in America. We don't have government agencies. We don't have cutouts or front groups that appear to have support from those agencies telling the American people what's true, what's false, or telling social media companies behind the scenes what they should be censoring.
And just to that last point, we now know, thanks to the case Missouri versus Biden, that that's exactly what this administration, from the White House to the FBI to the State Department to the CDC to CISA, have all been meeting with the social media companies for years now, giving them direct commands about what to censor and take down, naming specific accounts and specific speech they want suppressed, threatening the social media platforms if they don't do it, and remarkably, and I'm quoting the court here, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and there's a huge evidentiary record. Everybody can go, don't take my word for it, go read the record. It's all on the record from the district court. What the Fifth Circuit said is, remarkably, the social media platforms all complied. All of them. They all agreed to be tools of the United States government and to censor what they were ordered to censor, to suppress the speech they were ordered to suppress. You're a journalist. Tell us about the threat to the First Amendment. And by the way, just for the record, I think it's important to establish, the Federal Court of Appeals said directly, in no uncertain terms, this was a clear violation of the United States Constitution. The First Amendment does not allow the federal government to use private companies to censor when they wouldn't be able to do it themselves. And that's exactly what this administration has done. Tell us as a journalist the threat to free speech, to freedom of the press from this kind of collusion between a very powerful government trying to hijack every media company it can get its hands on.
Well, sure. I mean, if you just start on the issue of the COVID vaccine, for example, public interest advocates spent a very long time trying to get requiring the pharmaceutical companies to list the side effects of their drugs in their advertisements. Here we saw a situation where people were sharing information about the side effects of the vaccine on Facebook and other social media platforms, and the White House demanding that it be taken down, Facebook complying, acknowledging that it was often true information. We also saw that Facebook's own internal research showed that actually it increases vaccine hesitancy when you censor those stories, that people, if they want to be comfortable with a new drug, they need to be able to talk it out a bit. So Facebook told the White House that actually it would backfire. The White House insisted. Facebook caved in because, according to the Facebook executive Nick Clegg, he said, well, we've got this other business that we need to do with the White House, which is the data flows, meaning we need the White House to help us negotiate with the Europeans to bring our data back to the United States. So I think the Fifth Circuit Court did a great job in identifying the clearly coercive measures, but I don't think it went far enough because the First Amendment, it prevents the government from abridging or infringing on free speech, offering an incentive to social media platforms, such as helping them with their dispute with Europe, in exchange for censoring often true content, though of course the First Amendment also protects false content. I think it's a very chilling effect. I think it's very disturbing. Anybody that cares about holding powerful entities to account should be disturbed by what we saw take place on Facebook, on Twitter, and I think we just have to remind ourselves. And what disturbs me when I hear sort of the conversation around AI coming into it, sort of with the beginner mind, I hear a lot of talk about how to protect the public from harm. We have to protect the public from harm. What people are saying is that we need to censor speech, censor certain voices, censor disfavored voices because of this idea that it will cause real-world harm. This is a well-documented phenomenon that psychologists have measured where over decades, people have just grossly expanded their definition of things that cause harm. And I think that we need to kind of, this should be a moment for a reset, that free speech is almost absolute in the United States with a few exceptions around immediate incitement to violence, around fraud, around child exploitation, but we allow very open conversation in the United States. It's what makes us so special. So it's been a chilling effect. As a journalist, I've personally been censored by Facebook. I think the platforms are out of control.
Thank you, Mr. Schellenberg. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And do you have any science to back up your opinion?
The best data are autopsies. So in the largest autopsy series published to date, I know because I'm the senior author, of all the deaths we examined, and we re-reviewed them. We had an adjudication committee. We had ways of arbitration deciding on did the vaccine cause death. The answer is, of these cases that came in for autopsy after vaccination, 73.9% of individuals, it was determined that the vaccine was the cause of death. First author is Holscher and colleagues. He's sitting right behind me.
Chairman, for 2 years, myself and the other Republicans on this subcommittee connected the dots. We exposed the evidence supporting our strong belief that COVID was developed and leaked from the Wuhan lab. And during those same 2 years, the same Democrats that sit on this committee, they only hindered, they obstructed, they refused to hold hearings and get to the truth. Now we see mounting evidence supporting the COVID-19 originated from the lab in Wuhan, China, run by the Communist Chinese Party. And this hearing is about getting to the truth. I thank the chairman for making this the very first hearing, because the American people who have seen just as many fellow Americans die from COVID, as nearly as many die from COVID, that died in every war since the American Revolution combined, deserve to know the truth. Dr. Redfield, you pointed to the lab leak theory even before we did. In mid-January of 2020, you expressed concerns to Dr. Fauci, to Jeremy Farrar of UK's Wellcome Trust, and to Dr. Tedros of World Health Organization that, quote, we had to take the lab leak hypothesis with extreme seriousness. And you urged Dr. Fauci to investigate both the lab and the natural hypotheses. Shortly thereafter, on February 1st, Farrar convened a meeting of a group of 11 top scientists across 5 time zones and asked Dr. Fauci to join, and he wrote, quote, my preference is to keep this group really tight. Obviously, ask everyone to treat in total confidence, unquote. Dr. Redfield, you were excluded from this call, but up until then, you had been on every single, you were included in every other conversation. What changed? Why do you think that you were excluded from these conversations?
Thank you very much. I think just to emphasize, in early to mid-January, I did have multiple calls with Fauci, Farrar, and Tedros about how important I thought it was that science get engaged in aggressively pursuing both hypotheses. I also expressed, as a clinical virologist, that I felt it was not scientifically plausible that this virus went from a bat to humans and became one of the most infectious viruses that we have with humans. All viruses are not the same. So when you look at coronaviruses, for SARS and MERS, for example, when they entered the human species, which they did via an intermediate, they never learned how to go human to human. Even to this day, they don't know how to go human to human. So you can't equate Ebola with a coronavirus.
Now, why do you think you were excluded from those calls?
Because it was told to me that they wanted a single narrative and that I obviously had a different point of view.
Okay. In emails following the conference call, 4 of the 11 scientists told Fauci that they all found the genetic sequence inconsistent with expectations from evolutionary theory, basically what you're saying. However, just 3 days later, these 4 scientists had drafted a paper arguing the exact opposite, and that's now the infamous proximal origin of SARS-CoV-2. Our investigations show that this paper was prompted by Dr. Fauci, among others, with a goal to disprove the lab leak theory. What is the likelihood that these scientists came across additional information just 3 days after making these statements to conclude with such certainty that COVID-19 came from nature?
They said China will catch a cold. And after that, then what effectively will be a kind of plague will actually spread right across the world to the West as well. And you've got this totalitarian military lockdown in all the governments in the Western worlds because everyone's going to be in panic about all of this. And then, he said, then the real war starts. Something that would be justifiably called the Third World War with a much more major nuclear exchange. They believe that there is going to be what he called a geophysical event. A major geophysical event. There have been trillions of dollars that have been spent on deep underground bases for some reason which we don't know why it is. That there are repeated cyclical geophysical events about every 11,500 years.
Some people would say this revolution is characterized by the fight of robots against human beings. And we will win this fight.
I believe
the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
The plan is to provoke Iran or China to retaliate. And our guy, our source, who is a military man, is privately as convinced as he can be, although this has never been made public and this is not publicly known, that Iran does have nuclear weapons. He believes that they have been provided by China behind the scenes. And all of this is intended because it's all right with these controlling forces that Iran has nuclear weapons, because they want them to be used. The plan is for either Iran or for China to retaliate after Iran is struck with a nuclear weapon. At that point, there will be a limited nuclear exchange in the Middle East, followed by a ceasefire. He heard this being planned in this meeting. This is being choreographed. It's like the script for a movie. This is exactly what's intended to happen. And then, he said, then the real war starts. Something that would be justifiably called the Third World War, with a much more major nuclear exchange. They believe that there is going to be what he called a geophysical event, a major geophysical event. There have been trillions of dollars that have been spent on deep underground bases for some reason, which we don't know why it is. That there are repeated cyclical geophysical events about every 11,500 years. Information about what really happened to Atlantis was very probably in the Great Library of Alexandria that burnt down a couple of thousand years ago. There are persistent rumors that much of that information has been retrieved and it's in the Vatican Library. This is information which is not in the public domain.
What?
Paul Miller. I'm watching your stream.
Wait, say my name again. Say my name again. Oh, thank you for watching, Chang.
Good morning here from China.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Does everybody know Paul Miller in China?
Okay, I will tell you something. You are very famous in Chinese TikTok.
If I come to China, when I walk down the street, is everyone gonna lose their minds?
Yes, absolutely. You
Get
are
the
very
fuck
famous.
out of here.
It's true. It's true. You are very famous.
Oh, that is crazy. That's crazy. Let's get a picture for Chinese TikTok, me and you, and you post it.
Yes, let me take a screenshot.
Okay, let's do it.
Chinese fucking power.
White power.
It's very interesting because I was banned on Omi TV a few days ago. So I just can access Monkey, but I find some interesting things. There are some niggers chimping out. It's very interesting. It's not funny.
No, it's hilarious because you said niggers chipping out, and I know because I see them on here all the time, bro. I'll fucking.
Okay, so first I appreciate because I am learning English, and I learned a lot of English from your videos.
No
because
way.
You are very. Yes. Wait. Let me just wait a moment.
Okay.
Just wait a moment.
Okay, because I'm doing the show, brother.
Yes, of course. Somebody will cut this video and post on
We
TikTok
got you.
in
Don't worry
China.
about it. We got you.
Yes.
I
yes,
got you.
This guy will cut your videos. Just wait a moment.
I'm dead.
This guy will cut all of your videos on TikTok in China.
Get the fuck out of here. Yo,
all
that's crazy.
All of your videos.
Thank you for this. I appreciate it. Well, listen.
And I talked to Ricky Johnson and Smith Jarrett. And
you talked to Ricky.
Yes, so many times, and they told me they are your employees, right?
Yes, they stream on my platform, technically they work for they work for themselves, but I do pay them. I sign their checks, but they're great guys, and I appreciate them doing the Lord's work and getting the message out there. Listen, you have been wonderful, and thank you.
You will.
This
Okay.
has been so
If you
funny.
don't mind, and I think you will be a good English teacher.
Good. You think so? Is it very eloquent?
Yeah.
the
So
way I talk?
okay. Yes. Yes. Because a lot of Chinese people want to learn English from your videos.
All right, I gotta
Yes.
come. I'm gonna. I guess you know what? You sealed it for me. I'm gonna come to China one of these days. I'm coming.
Yes. Yes. Come to China. Come to China.
China.
And thank you. I want to take this opportunity to give you some advice. Over the course of your life, you will find that things are not always fair. You will find that things happen to you that you do not deserve.
Fair.
And
Fair.
that things are not always warranted. But
Thank
you always put your head down and fight. Remember
Fight,
that.
fight,
Keep
fight.
fighting. Remember that. Keep fighting with niggers.
All right, man. Hail Hitler.
Chinese fucking power.
White fucking power. Are you slanty-eyed bastard?
I'm so happy.
We're holding the white girl hostage.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try.
I love King Von. I'm so proud to be in the Black community. I love listening to nigger babble all day, every day. I'm such a big fan of nigger culture. I think we're the best group of people ever. Man, I think it's so fun that we go and shoot people. I think it's so fun that we go and rob people. Like, yes.